All right, you guys, you've been through the 3-day virtual retreat. Many of you are reaching out wondering what's next. How do we keep this momentum going? How do we get the support that we need now that we've realized that there's a different way of looking at fertility? We have to go deeper. We have to look beyond the physical, even though the physical body is quite important. We know that the mental, emotional, spiritual pieces of this are vital to allowing your body to feel safe, to allow for conception to happen. So, what's next? The Brilliant Fertility Program, my third baby. We joke because it was a long gestation, guys. This took like 5 years in the making. And I developed this program because there are so many people like you who just have that knowing that there's a different way of approaching it, that know that when you synchronize the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical pieces, it feels a hell of a lot better and we see better results. So, the Brilliant Fertility Program, this is a 4-month program to increase your fertility without going insane. I do have some other inspiration stories in here for you as well from our BFP members. This one was from one of our members who was actually in Switzerland. So we do have folks who have joined from all over the world over the last 5 years. And I do get a lot of questions about like, if I'm not sitting in front of you as your patient, like, how do I actually get what I need from my doctors locally? This was a great example. So, uh, this message was from when she actually got her positive pregnancy test last year. She said, "We couldn't tell you yesterday in person. We would not like to wait one more week. Guess what happened? I am pregnant. Last week, the doctor confirmed ovulation, told us to wait with testing. We did until Monday. We took the home pregnancy test. It was very strongly positive. Then I went to do a blood test. Also, that confirmed it. This case, this couple had been trying for over 2 years. They were on the doorstep of IVF. They had already done IUI. It hadn't worked. Her cycles were rather irregular, and her doctors had labeled her as unexplained infertility. So we were able to look at this whole picture, look at her cycle charts, her symptoms, the fears that she had, and figure out what she could do within her local provider team with her primary care, her OBGYN, and her REI to get some more tests that revealed hypothyroid, iron deficiency anemia, and be able to advocate for herself to get the proper treatment so that her body could feel safe. Because even if she was going to go to IVF, those pieces had to be taken care of. And she had to learn how to advocate for herself. So, in clearing the fears, in working through some of the limiting beliefs that she had about her worthiness, her body's capability, her own capabilities in communicating, she was able to actually advocate for herself, get the tests and the treatments she needed. And they conceived after 2.5 months in the program. And so the subsequent month and a half in the program, we spent just really making sure that she was supported in maintaining that pregnancy. That is one of the questions we get from people is what happens if I actually get pregnant during this 4 months in the program? And it just means that instead of focusing on the how do we get you pregnant, we're focusing on the how do we maintain this pregnancy, because just because you get pregnant doesn't mean that the fears go away. It doesn't mean the questions go away. If anything, there are actually more questions. And having that support for those first vulnerable weeks are so impactful because in the traditional Western medical system, people aren't seen for their pregnancies until around 8 to 10 weeks, maybe 6 weeks if you're someone who's had a lot of complications or losses in the past. But even then, there's just not that much support that they're offering. So the people who have conceived while they've been in the program have really enjoyed having that continued support during those early weeks. The BFP is a small group coaching program. So for this cohort that will be starting in July, there will only be 10 members at most. And even with having 10 members, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone will attend every single coaching call. I can guarantee that all of your questions will be addressed. So I know that people have concerns about if it's a big group, am I just going to be sitting there like, is my question going to get answered? And we have so much opportunity for support, not only within our 12 coaching calls throughout those 4 months, but we have a private WhatsApp group that you can ask questions anytime. I just answer as soon as I'm available. So I'm usually answering questions 4 to 5 days a week. So you can actually make sure that those needs are getting met. And when you think about what that equates to in your traditional doctor's office setting, I don't know about you, but I know that when I make an appointment with my primary care, they have about 15 minutes set aside for like everything for the entire year. And then if I want to make an appointment outside of that, I have to be very specific about what question I have. And if I have a question outside of that, I have to schedule a separate appointment. I know that some healthcare systems are even more strict about that, where they'll actually bill for a question that you didn't even know you were getting billed for because it was outside of the scope of that practice. And it's just wild how hard it is to get your questions answered. So this is something that our participants have really appreciated, is being able to get their questions answered in a timely manner without having to worry about, am I getting billed additionally for this? Or is this within their scope? Will they even give me an answer? So if you have a fertility question or a question about something that is happening in life that could impact how you're showing up in this fertility journey, we're here for you. This message was from Nicole. She says, "Hi, Dr. Rose. Good news. I'm pregnant. Just found out Friday. Had 2 blood draws so far. The HCG levels are good. I can't believe it. I will say what's crazy is when we had the spirit baby meditation last week and you told us to look at ourselves in the mirror, I was pregnant, like very pregnant. And then you said to look yourself in the eye in the mirror. And the look on my mirror face was, I told you so. I told you we could do this. And then a few days later, I get a positive test. Anyhow, tapping into intuition. So I wanted to give you guys this example because this participant is a scientist. She is an extremely data-driven human being. And part of the data that led her to joining the BFP was that she had been trying for a year with no pregnancy, no signs of pregnancy, and she was feeling like there's something more going on here, even if I don't know what it is yet. And we were just able to very gently listen to what her body was asking. And in this case, it was truly an example of slowing down in life, slowing down the exercise, slowing down her thoughts, slowing down her work processes so that she could really tune in and listen to her body. And as you could see when we did one of our meditations, she had a really powerful experience of connecting with herself, and her body already knew it was pregnant, even if she didn't have that data yet. But these are the types of experiences that people have in our program on a weekly, monthly basis. So what's actually in the BFP? We have a combination of evidence-informed protocols. So I love research and data just as much as the next person. And if we have a good study on it, then I will put that in the BFP. So if we have an example of how a certain supplement would support egg quality or sperm quality or endometrial receptivity, then you can find that in our protocols. But we also need this roadmap to accessing intuition so that you know how to make the best choices for you. If I peeled back all of the fertility specific curriculum in this program, at its core, it is rooted in helping you step into your own power, helping you identify what's true for you, how to trust yourself, how to trust your body. And the icing on the cake really is all of the science and the curriculum and the protocols, right? But if anything, I would say that helping you connect to your own intuition and know how to make the best choices for you is where the most value is in this program, because that doesn't just serve you on the fertility journey, that serves you in every area of life, in relationships, in career, in parenting, and it's truly priceless. But I know some of you like statistics. You want to know, like, what am I actually expecting to see in this program? And we have to start also by looking at the statistics of what are the treatments available for infertility so far. So we've talked about in day three, day 2 and 3, how IUI and IVF are really like a conveyor belt when you are struggling with fertility. If you haven't gotten pregnant by 6 months, 12 months, like, most providers aren't looking at those root causes. They're looking at how is this person going to respond to this treatment? And therefore, here are the statistics for these treatments. So I'm just going to zero in on, the most common people who I work with are between 35 and about 43. So the statistics in these age ranges for IUI, 7 to 9% in women 35 to 40, 1 to 4% in women over 40. Not exactly great numbers, right? Not honestly even higher than in just a natural cycle. So we have to really zero in on, like, well, who are good candidates for IUI? And that's something that has nuance to it. So it really depends on the couple. And the same goes for IVF. So maybe a little bit higher success rates with IVF. So women 35 to 37, we have a 40% success rate. Women 38 to 40, we have a 27% success rate. And women over 40, a 7% success rate. And these stats were all pulled from the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology. So you can go online and find those for yourself as well. But again, for something like IVF, which typically ranges from $22,000 to $30,000 once you add in the medications, the monitoring, the retrieval, the embryo transfer. 7% in someone over 40. It's like, what can we do to optimize that? And do we know for sure that someone needs to pursue that? I'm not morally opposed to these treatments in any way, shape, or form. They are miraculous feats of science, and we have to make sure we are set up for success with them. And when we are setting up for success, often we find that people don't need them. So, what are statistics for the Brilliant Fertility Program? So, our live birth rate for the program, this is since 2020 up to now, 60% of individuals within, or couples within 1 year of graduation, will conceive and have a healthy live birth, 85% within 2.5 years of graduation. Some of these people do end up going through IVF. That's okay with me. Some people come into the program while they are already actively in IVF cycles. And while in my ideal world, we would catch someone at least 3 months before IVF to improve those outcomes, we've still been able to support people through those treatments. And if you want to go listen to one of our case studies from the BFP, you can go to my YouTube channel. My YouTube is Dr. Katie Rose, and go to the testimonial from Sarah. She talks about her experience going through her IVF retrievals as she joined the BFP, like literally a couple weeks before her first retrieval, and how the program was able to support her through that. So this is from one of our cohorts from just earlier this year, from our January, February cohort. One of our members says, "Hi, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the weekend. I just wanted to let you know I had my first BFP ever." And you can actually go watch her testimonial as well. This is Kelsey. Kelsey had been trying for about 4 years officially, but had been with her husband, had no goalie for years before that. And so seeing this, I mean, I was actually just about to head into work. So I was putting my makeup on when this text came in, and basically just had to redo my makeup because we all had to have a good old ugly cry about this, knowing everything that she had been through to get to this moment. And now at the time of I'm recording this video, to be about 16, 17 weeks into the pregnancy was truly just such a remarkable moment. So another example is someone who conceived while she was in the program and used her remaining weeks for support in the first trimester. This was from another one of our members from the January, February cohort. She actually started out where many of you did in the 3-day retreat. And in that particular retreat, one of our pieces of homework was to find daily glimmers. So she said, since your beautiful meditation on day 2, I've been visualizing moments with my future kids throughout my days. And here was her chart. I do love keeping track of people's cycle charts in the program. It helps me use that data to identify where someone might need support within their cycle. But she did end up conceiving in the 2nd month in the program after we just suggested some little tweaks with diet supplementation, but we did a lot of emotional clearing. And this was her cycle chart where she got her positive pregnancy test. So you can see it wasn't even necessarily a perfect cycle. She had kind of a short, scanty period. She ovulated a bit later than she wanted to see. So she was kind of worried about, like, is it normal to ovulate on day 19? And a lot of thoughts that she had circulating around that. And ultimately, this pregnancy has looked really, really healthy. So using those remaining weeks for her in really anchoring into the trust of her body, the trust of this baby's timeline, and surrendering the pieces that we didn't have control over are where we've been able to, really access the most peace for her in this pregnancy. This is one of our members from the fall cohort. So again, like you, she started out in the retreat. She said, attending Dr. Rose's retreat was like receiving a warm hug for my soul. And as she was finishing up her 4 months in the program, she said, with today being the last call for the September cohort, I wanted to tell you how much I've enjoyed these last few months. I've gone through most of my infertility journey on my own with my husband without even family knowing. So to get to experience this group and hear everyone's stories, do the meditations, learn from Dr. Rose has been a breath of fresh air. Thank you all. And then a couple weeks later, she says, hi, Dr. Rose. I couldn't wait to take the test one more day. So I did it tonight and it was positive. I can't believe it. We are overwhelmed with joy. So that was in December. She's well into this pregnancy now. Everything's looking great. And to know where she was when she came in, because when I did our onboarding with her, I could tell that she really was feeling so hopeless, so disconnected from her body, having been through years of IVF treatments that were unsuccessful. So when you get to that point, it's really natural to start questioning, like, what are we doing? Is this ever going to happen? And to know what's possible when she was really able to get the nourishment that she needed, mind, body, and soul, that she conceived without IVF after years of IVF. It's truly just, like, I never allow myself to get jaded by this. I'm always leaving room for me to be equally as elated by these miracles. So I know a lot of you are like, well, okay, sounds good in theory, but like, what is actually happening in this program? What do we get in this program? So I do want to take you on a quick tour. I'm going to stop our share for a second. So the program itself is housed within my client portal called Practice Better. What's great about Practice Better is not only are you able to access all the course materials, you're also you're able to create your own profile. And when you do that, you can upload your labs, you can upload your imaging, and I can get my eyeballs on it. And I am very mindful of staying within my scope as your fertility coach. So if you're outside of the state of Arizona, then my recommendations are coming from that coaching lens of like, here's what I see as a physician. I can't diagnose, I can't treat this, but based on the research, based on the education, here is what I'm seeing and what I am recommending that you go talk to your doctor about. So, as you've seen, I presented one of our cases from the first one was from Switzerland. Kelsey lives in Spain. So, you don't have to be sitting here in Arizona being an established patient with me to get results. So when you sign up and you get a profile and Practice Better, you're able to actually upload all of your labs, imaging, partners, semen analysis, etc., so that you can make sure we are able to customize this experience to you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again so you can see what's in here. I'm actually taking you to the back end of Practice Better here. Don't judge how many tabs I have open. This is actually pared down. All right, so when you actually join the program, you'll have immediate access to the welcome module. This has our call times, our WhatsApp group, and a couple of short videos to really help guide you in getting the most out of this program. I want you to get your money's worth. Next module, where to start? We have charting and mindset. Gosh, why do we have these two things in the same module? They're so different, right? Well, as a practitioner who has studied fertility awareness method for over a decade now, I love to see actually what's happening in someone's menstrual cycle. It really helps me customize things. And I know that mindset is so impactful for getting started on this journey. And often when we're really obsessed about data, we also can get a little bit spirally in our minds, and that's not great for our nervous system. So we really have this marriage of science meets soul starting off very quickly in the program. And then the tools for nervous system regulation mindset are woven throughout. So next module is all about the phases of your cycle, root causes of fertility. We dive into fertility labs in module 2. What labs do you need? What are the optimal ranges for these labs? What about certain conditions like thyroid, inflammation, blood sugar, recurrent pregnancy loss? That's all being talked about in module 2. And for people who might be overwhelmed by like the level of information here, as a pace, these modules are released every week. Or if you have something coming up for you, you're like, well, I know I'm going to be diving into IVF pretty quickly here. That is module 11. That module is actually open sooner. We can also manually unlock modules. So if someone's had issues with like UTIs, yeast infections, we can unlock that sooner. I just am mindful of the fact that some people tend to binge and then get overwhelmed. So it is all laid out in a way that's very digestible, very sustainable. So then week 3, this goes into nutrition and exercise. Module 4 is all about circadian rhythm and getting really good sleep. It's a highly underrated, highly important topic in the world of fertility for both partners. So that module is a favorite for our members. Module 5, all about environmental toxins. And this area is really, really important for both partners. So I do tend to emphasize like which ones are areas where both partners can be focusing in on. Detox isn't really necessary for fertility, although there is an optional guided detox that people can go through. That could be recommended if someone's been through multiple rounds of IVF. And that's something as a discussion with our members, we can get more customized around. Module 6 is all about supplements, and we do go into specific areas of health that could be supported by supplements differently. So we've got a couple videos, but then we go into supplements for egg quality, over 35, poor ovarian reserve, IVF support, PCOS, hypothyroid. And all of the studies are linked here for you to be able to give these to your doctors in your discussions about supplements as well. Endometriosis, herbs, which can very much be overused or misused. So we want to have conversations around that. Cervical fluid. It's a big question I get is how do I make sure I'm using supplements to optimize my cervical fluid? And it's more nuanced than just that, of course. Uh, but the reason supplements are later on in the program is because we actually have to have these other foundations first. Like you can't out supplement a shitty diet. You can't out supplement horrible sleep hygiene. So we need these foundations in first so that your body can actually utilize these supplements well. Next, we have self-care. And so this module really dives in more to what is self-care for fertility beyond, going to get a massage every once in a while. This is like, what are we doing in life to set ourselves up for fertility success? Does this mean setting boundaries with family members? Does this mean setting boundaries with work? Does this mean going to bed earlier and saying no? I mean, there's a lot of it around boundaries. Spoiler alert. But what other areas can we be zeroing in on to support fertility? Module 8 is gut health. Also, really, really important. And interestingly, modules 3, 4, 5, 6 are really helping to support gut health. It's important because our nutrient absorptions happen here. Our immune system is very active in the gut, and our phase 3 estrogen metabolism happens in the gut. So we do have to address gut health issues, and this module dives into that so much more deeply. Module 9, this is the other favorite of our members because this gets into some really fun stuff, maybe things that we don't have as much research around as we want, but just lighten this journey a little bit more. So we have discussions about feng shui and a feng shui for fertility guide. We have discussions about crystals and a beautiful fertility for crystals or crystals for fertility guide. And again, we don't have concrete studies on that, but if you want to bring more joy and beauty into your life and that opens up your energy in a way that you didn't have before, that's helpful. And we also have some guides for using acupressure in Module 9. Now, there's actually really solid research behind acupuncture for fertility, but not everyone has access to acupuncture on a regular basis or someone in their local community who specializes in fertility acupuncture. So we do have guides in Module 9 on using acupressure to benefit your fertility as well. Module 10, again, this is for people who really got to zero in on what's going on with their microbiome. So people who've had UTIs, yeast infections, BVs. This module can actually be really impactful for people with unexplained infertility and recurrent pregnancy loss as well, because the microbiome is so important for those situations. Module 11, we're talking about assisted reproductive technologies, so IUI and IVF. What do these treatments look like? What questions do you need to ask? What are the different phases of them, from ovarian stimulation all the way through embryo transfer and the 2-week wait? Module 12, restoring intimacy in your relationship. Now, some people have their partners join in the BFP in our group calls. Some people are just kind of relaying things on the back end. No matter what, we have to acknowledge if you are coming into the fertility journey in a partnership, sometimes it can feel like you are on two separate paths altogether, even though you both want the same thing. And it's not just about sex, right? Like intimacy is about communication, about closeness, about having fun together, about really continuing this spark within your relationship through the hard times. So being able to have these discussions and look at this from a place of teamwork is not just important for your fertility journey, but also for your future parenting journey as well. And then we have some of our bonuses in here. So we have a bonus module for men's health. This is unlocked at enrollment, so your partner can get on this ASAP. The spirit babies, I haven't talked about that so much in the retreat, but this is also an area that our group has really enjoyed diving into more over the last couple of years. So we have this whole module dedicated to it. We have some meditations and discussions around like what are we actually looking at, looking for, communicating with when it comes to our future baby's spirit. And then we have our bonus meditations and EFT tapping. So all of our favorite meditations and tappings go into the vault here. We have over 80 tappings, we have over 50 meditations. So if there's something specific coming up for you, like feeling like you can't trust your body, maybe an embryo transfer was just unsuccessful, like you can bet that there is a tool for processing that experience within this bonus. And then we have our final, most recently added module. I should have added this so much sooner, but you got a BFP, now what? So all of those really big questions that come from when you finally get a positive pregnancy test, we start answering in this module. It's been really helpful for our members from this most recent cohort who got their BFPs during the program to start with that and then come with their questions as the weeks go on. So I hope that helps give you a view of what's actually happening behind the scenes in the BFP and what you get when you access it as a participant. So you get 12 live coaching calls. So we meet right now on Tuesday afternoons. I'm in Arizona, which right now we're on Pacific time. So our meeting times are set right now at 1 p.m. on Tuesdays. And we do 12 live calls over that 16 weeks. So we have a couple of gap weeks where you can still use that time to integrate the information. We don't want this to just be some other online course that you buy and then it just sits on a shelf getting dusty in whatever virtual shelf that is. But you know what I mean? Like there's so much information out there. I'm guilty of this. I've bought things and then just let them sit because there wasn't something motivating me towards engaging. And when you engage in this program, the results are profound. It doesn't mean you have to show up live to every call. It's why we have a WhatsApp group for direct line to me and the community between calls. I'm in the WhatsApp group right now, probably 4 or 5 days a week, answering questions, dropping voice notes. When I do our little energy reading, this is where I drop my voice notes in. It's so much fun to really engage with people there. And trust me, if you are not an extrovert, if you're not very outgoing, if you're shy, then you're in the right group because we actually polled our members over the last couple of years and found out that if you're into like the Myers-Briggs type personalities, that most of our members are introverted, basically like the INFJP, which is one of the rarest forms, like introverted sensitive unicorns are very attracted to working with me, apparently. But I just want you to know that you're not alone if you feel like a little outside your comfort zone in a group setting, that we are able to work with that really, really well in this program. And you have lifetime access to all the online educational materials and all of the bonuses. So any upgrades we have, any research that comes through that's new, like that is still available to you. We went through some of these bonuses as we went through the back end tour, but the bonus for men's health, sperm quality, guys, this is 50% of your future child's DNA. It's really freaking important. We can't ignore it. And many of the other modules are still relevant for men's health too. So nutrition, environmental toxins, sleep and circadian rhythm, like these are all very relevant. So you and your partner can go through those together. Bonus number two, this is a separate little mini program that I created when I finished my hypnotherapy certification a few years ago to help you rewire your brain for success. Now, I actually had a few people in my close circle, my friends, families, my mom, and some of her close friends go through this as like beta testers. Just tell me, like, all right, like, how does this land for you? And it's so fascinating how when they envisioned that goal, they set that goal and they went through the process that's outlined in Rewrite Your Story, that those goals have come to fruition. And these are, in like my mom and her friends who are 70 years old. And I've since had dozens and dozens of people move through this program. And it's just really beautiful to see how you can use it for fertility goal, but you can also set other goals and you can continue to use this as you reach new levels and have new goals. So it's a really fantastic program. And then bonus number three is that EFT meditation and tapping vault. Okay, so I know we have to talk about money. This program is an investment, obviously, as is anything that you do for your fertility, but it's not apples and oranges, right? Like IUI, IVF, the Brilliant Fertility Program, like these are not on the same wavelength. And it doesn't mean that everyone who goes through the BFP will avoid doing those treatments, but we have to look at like what are they actually treating and what's available to you within them. So IUI, sure, we're getting sperm where it needs to go inside the uterus. Usually it's running around $1,200 to $3,000 per round, depending on where you live, what clinic you're at, what monitoring is done, what medications they use. IVF, I need to update this slide because one of our clinics that used to be really reasonable in price has been bought out, and it's like more on the upper end now. So even in our local community, we're looking at about $25,000 per round of IVF. In some other areas, in some other countries, we can get that a little cheaper, but ultimately, like, we are able to take the egg out, we're able to get the sperm, we can put them together, but that does not guarantee a pregnancy. Like you saw those rates, we're looking at around, 40 to 20%, depending on the age range. And neither of these options with IUI or IVF addresses the root cause, gives you tools to use for a lifetime, or supports the mental, emotional, spiritual piece of this. It doesn't support nutrient deficiencies. It doesn't support thyroid health. It doesn't really support you as a whole person. It just helps maybe facilitate getting the puzzle pieces together physically for that pregnancy. So the Brilliant Fertility Program, we do address the root causes. We do give you these tools that will help you not just in the fertility journey, but with parenthood, with relationships, with career, and beyond, because it's helping you regulate your nervous system and tap into your intuition. And it supports the mental, emotional, spiritual piece. So for $29.97, this is priceless. And many people will actually avoid having to go through IUI or IVF when they actually give the body what it needs, feel safe in the body, and allow for conception to happen. So truly, we cannot compare the two, but if we have to boil it down just to cost, the BFP is essentially like doing 1 or 2 rounds of IUI, but with a whole lot more supporting you on the foundational level and beyond. And we have to kind of come back to like, what are those root causes as a reminder? So on the physical front, hormone imbalances, nutrient deficiencies, inflammation, thyroid issues, autoimmune issues, microbiome, environmental exposures. And I don't list these off to overwhelm you like, oh my God, there's so much wrong that I'm never going to get through it. Because connected to all of these is our nervous system. And when we learn how to feel safe in our body, when we learn how to regulate our nervous system, managing all of these other things gets exponentially easier. So when we come back and look at that, $29.97 over the course of a lifetime is truly a drop in the bucket when you gather these tools to regulate your nervous system, to tap into intuition, and to know that, yes, the research that's presented in the protocols in the BFP is highly attuned to fertility, but can still support someone who's going through other issues, other hormonal imbalance issues that also impact fertility, other issues with their digestion that also impact fertility. So when we're optimizing the health of the whole person, this has impact, and you're worthy of that health. The last bonus that I want to tap into here is the remote energy healing sessions. Now, I've been kind of shy talking about this publicly because this is a newer addition to the BFP, and it feels so woo-woo and out there that I have often wondered if my colleagues would judge me, even though naturopathic medicine is already kind of woo. But if you've worked with me, you know that this really has such a powerful impact because it gives us another layer of connecting to the intuition. And so far, our members have absolutely loved these sessions. So basically, what happens here is I go into a deep meditative state. With your permission, I ask some questions on your behalf. So if there's something coming up that you want support with, that you have a question about, that you're feeling stuck in, then I tune in to my intuition. I ask my guides, angels, high vibrational spirit team to tap into your guides, high vibrational spirit team, etc., to just help us understand, like, what do we need to know, hear, see, or feel that will help you with this question or with this part of your journey. And it feels vulnerable to share how that goes down, but I know that many of you are really interested in understanding that piece of yourselves better, and this has been a very cool part of our program over the last few months. So I would love to get to know you better. I've had the opportunity to do several calls with people who've been in the retreat so far this session, and it's been really lovely to get to know people and understand what their journey has been like, where they felt stuck. And I would love to get to know you too. So as we gear up for this next cohort of the Brilliant Fertility Program, I hold this group in such high regard. We have one of our top values is integrity. And so, really, with being in integrity with what we offer in this group, I also like to get to know the people who are coming in. And I want to make sure that I can support you, that this program can support you. So some of you I know will already have that intuitive feeling of like, yes, I'm in. I know this is for me. For those of you who are like, I have questions. I don't know. Like, part of me wants this. Part of me is like, do I really need this? Don't hesitate to schedule a call. There's no obligation. I am not trying to sell you anything. My goal is to make sure that you are getting what's best for you. So I will drop the link to book a discovery call lower on this page or in the comments of this video so that you can do so. But this cohort will start on the week of July 7th. So enrollment closes on July 1st. And I will be then out of town after enrollment pretty much until we do our welcome call. So once the doors close, they're closed. I've had a couple of people ask when I'll be opening again, and it's very possible that this will be the last cohort of this year because our new, my husband and I have been building a new building for literally years at this point, and like we're finally getting to the end of this building being done. So once doors close on this cohort, I'm really going to be putting full attention with our group members and getting that building finalized and set up. So it's very possible like this is the last cohort of the year, or at least the last way in which I offer this level of support in the cohort or in the program. So, you know, like many of you with uncertainty, like I don't know what the rest of this year looks like. So if you want to get on the ship, get on the ship. All right, as always, sending you so much love, but don't hesitate with your questions. Don't hesitate to book a call. I've got a couple more spots on my schedule for this coming weekend and Monday, June 30th. So if this support feels like it might be right for you, then now's the time. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. We'll see you out there.